Like, must I be honest with myself about Ryan? Little sick, just getting over being a little sick. How are you? I've missed you. Today I'm going to be answering 40 of your craziest questions. Did I stutter on crazy? Today I'm going to be answering 40 of your craziest, most out-of-pocket questions. And some of y'all are insane for asking some of these, but I'm gonna answer them fully. Ask more questions in the comments below because I will do another one of these, but I wanna have some fun. I actually got about, I don't even know if I can see how many questions. Actually ended up getting a few thousand questions asked when I asked on my Club Chris Instagram. Hold on. Whoop.
Let's get into it.
Question number 1.
Ever sold feet pics? No. Well, no.
No.
I've been asked, for sure. That's what I'm thinking about. Have I ever actually gone through with it? I've been asked, but the price has never been quite high enough, so I've never sold feet pics. But it is always a good backup plan, just in case. What is the most money I've spent on a concert? I think it would be about $10K for front row at Adele in Vegas. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Very grateful to even be able to spend that kind of money for Adele, but I don't even know what to say but about. When I was growing up, when I was in rehab, and I thought, well, when I have money, I'm gonna do that. Going to front row at Adele would have been one of those things. Someone's screaming. This one isn't that crazy, but any siblings because you give only child energy. I do have siblings. I have an older sister. I do have sibling, I guess. Whoa.
Someone is singing out there.
I have an older sister. We are kind of like polar opposites. It's funny because we've talked about how when I was growing up, she's an older sister, she's 2.5 years older. She always got straight A's. She was never getting in trouble. I thought of her as the perfect child, and I didn't get perfect grades. I was always getting in trouble. I was always too loud, as we can all assume the exact things that I would have been growing up. I thought of her as the perfect child, and now I've learned that she actually thought of me as the perfect kid because I was outgoing, she was a little more shy. I was very social, she had a smaller group of friends, and so really the grass is always greener. I love my older sister. What was your I made it moment in your head that changed your outlook? This is gonna be a random one, but one I made it moment was after the Mean Girls movie premiere. I saw Tina Fey at the after party and she came up to me and was like, oh, we did it, and gave me a big hug. And I was like, first of all, I had 2 lines in that movie. Second of all, you would know me, Tina Fey. And that was just kind of crazy. But I'm way more hard on myself than I am able to enjoy good moments in my career. So I consistently, once I have an I made it moment, and will tell myself that I haven't done enough, which is an issue between me and my therapist, so.
We're gonna get through that.
I have a bunch of Club Chris questions. The first one is Club Chris a marketing tactic?
No.
It was not created to be one. I did not even know that it would turn into what it did. And I know some people may watch this, especially if they're not in Club Chris and they don't like me at all, and they'll be like,
Absolutely not. Everything he does is calculated.
And I honestly do appreciate that comment. It means you think I'm smarter than I actually am. I did not create Club Chris thinking I'm going to start a new marketing tactic for myself. I created it because I had a breakdown online on August 8th of 2024. And then a month later, when I decided I wanted to return to the internet, I thought I'm gonna make my spam account private because I want that to be a place where only supportive people, only people who I feel like have been riding with me from the start. I wanted to build a community. I wanted to be able to block any haters. I wanted it to be a place that felt safe for me on the internet and ultimately felt safe for the other people. This next question plays into that. It's what was the first Club Chris video? And it was literally, I made the account private and then didn't post anything for a while, but 3 days later, I posted a video that was like, this account is now private, so if you're in, you're in. And then I did not check my phone. I think I had something to do that night. And then like 4 hours later, my manager texted me and was like,
that was the smartest thing you ever did.
and I was like,
What was?
and she was like,
This, creating a private account.
and I was like,
Oh, yeah, I mean, I wasn't really thinking of doing anything. I just didn't really want to get hate comments anymore.
and I hadn't even checked the video, and then I checked it, and it had like 800,000 views and 400,000 likes, which if you're familiar at all with TikTok analytics, 50% like to view ratio is
insane.
This must be a glitch because how is that happening? But then it had so many comments as well being like, yes, I love this, I feel so special. I was like, oh my God, this could be a fun little thing to do. And yes, I have used it in certain ways to market my other social media channels, to market things I do. I think a lot of it has come from following what people have wanted me to do. The last question that relates to Club Chris is, did you ever think Club Chris would get as big as it is now, or did you think it would flop? Again, I didn't really think it was gonna be anything, so I didn't necessarily think it would flop. I just thought, well, it's gonna be a fun little thing to do. I might not keep it private forever. But then I remember I talked about it in an interview at the VMAs, and that video started going viral. And a lot of people started posting videos being like, is anyone else in what was starting to be called Club Chris? And those were all going viral, and I was like, oh, wow. Like, people really enjoy this thing. And then I do think it got to a point where some people wanted to be in it for the wrong reasons. I probably got a little carried away with allowing too many people in. Ultimately, there are always gonna be some people who slip through the gates and maybe shouldn't have. With anything on the internet, the bigger it gets, the more susceptible it is to hate and being taken down. Have you ever met a hater, but in real life, and was it awkward? These weren't really haters, but I remember I was sitting in Central Park with my two friends, and these two teenage girls walked past me and then turned around and saw me, and then walked past again, and then they were behind me, but my two friends saw that they were behind me and were like, oh, those girls are like taking pictures of you right now, because they were very obviously doing that. And then they came back towards the front of me to try to get a picture of my face, but they tried to do that thing where they're like taking a selfie. Their phone was so obviously like not even angled towards them, and it was placed right on me. So I just decided to wave because I was like, oh, if they wanna like take a photo, like, let's take a photo. You don't have to be sneaky about it. I was like, hey, and they were like,
what?
And I was like, oh, I'm just saying hi, because you guys were like, you were looking out, never mind. They were like,
okay.
And then like looked at each other and started laughing, and these were like teenage girls. Though I was 25 or 26 at the time, it brought me right back to high school, and I wanted to crawl into a hole and pull it in with me. It was
terrifying.
It was terrifying. And so I don't even think they were haters, but they definitely weren't nicers. What am I talking about? What was the hardest thing about getting sober? The hardest thing about getting sober would be going back to college, because I got sober when I was 19, I returned to college when I was 20, and then not being able to do what is seen as usual college activities in the US, which is like going out to parties every weekend. I was in Boston, which is like basically one huge college city. Not being able to have what I felt like was a regular college experience like everyone else. I kind of became a loner for the first like year that I was back in college sober. I've now learned that I can go to parties and have fun sober, but I didn't want to go to a party and be around that and be tempted at all. A hard part these days is going to award shows or events, especially in LA, that are largely fueled by substances. A lot of people only go and feel comfortable when they're on substances. But ultimately, I've seen so many like celebrities or just people in general at these events get really sloppy and really messy, and their teams like have to pull them together or like somehow take them home or make sure that they're not like doing anything too crazy. And that turned me off of it enough to make me know that like that would be me, and I don't want to do that. What was the craziest rumor you've ever heard about yourself? It was when I did one of those projects with Club Chris that was like, create a rumor and I'm gonna repost them, and let's like, I don't know, let's have an inside joke with a random rumor about me. And the one about me and Jonathan Bailey kissing at the Emmys really took off. Really took off, so much to the point that people thought I said it in my private account, which, to be fair, I think some of the videos that went viral were people saying like,
he told everyone he kissed Jonathan Bailey in his private account.
And then a lot of people were saying he's such a liar, and I was like, wait, oh, this is getting too big. What is the worst thing an ex has done to you? Probably threatened to kill me. How do you cope with the hate you get? You're always so positive and loving. I'm not always so positive and loving. A lot of the time when the cameras are off, I am negative and hating. I cope with it by having a really good friend group who I can cry about these comments to. It is not easy, and I have never been one of those people who can just brush it off. I have a lot of deep feelings, and I love having those deep feelings, and I don't really want those deep feelings to go away at any point in my life. So I cry about it. That's how I cope. Not crazy, but what made you want to do the tour? Live Nation offered. And I do want to clear up a common misconception of a tour, is that a lot of people think,
Well, he needs money. He's doing this tour because of money.
when you're touring at my scale, which is not an Eras tour scale, which is not even an Arenas tour scale, which is not even like a big theater tour scale, I'm not gonna make much money from this, if any at all. The budget that I'm being given to put up this tour is small. It's my first tour, so a promoter can't really justify putting a ton of money behind me. And so I'm going to have to end up putting a lot of money behind myself. I'll see if I make some of that money back. There is possibilities to make it back in merch and other things, but I tried to keep the ticket prices so low. Definitely won't be making money off of ticket sales alone. If the tour does end up running longer and I can extend it, then there's the possibility to make money. But I did not decide to do the tour because I thought,
I'm gonna rake in some cash with this.
I wanted to meet all of you. I wanted to do as much as I possibly could do, but I'm very excited. Would you ever have another public relationship? I'm gonna try my hardest not to. I think my issue is that couple content comes so easily to me because it's how I started on the internet. When I inevitably have a boyfriend, not inevitably, who knows if I'll ever have a boyfriend again. It just, ideas flow to me and then I'm like, why don't we create this? And it feels so fun when you start out together. But it always kind of ends the same way. So no. Is falling for straight men a canon event? No. Well, no, I don't think so. I fell in love with my first best friend in 7th grade. More to come on that later. I have tried to never do that again. Tread very lightly around my straight friends. I think almost to the point that I, for a long time, wouldn't even let myself have straight men friends because I didn't want them to think that I was falling in love with them, because me falling in love with my straight friend in 7th grade ultimately ruined our friendship. I've been really scared to have straight friends ever since then. Straight male friends. Do I fall for them? Like, must I be honest with myself about Ryan? I don't think I have. I don't think I've fallen for. I think I love him as a friend in my life. My mind makes myself think like, well,
Is it just platonically, or are you falling in love with him and you're just lying to yourself?
and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's platonic. And then my mind is like,
Well, you've lied to yourself before, you idiot.
I'm very mean up there. What's something a man once said to you that you'll never forget? One time one of my exes asked me if I'd be down to have a with some guy they were working with, and I said no. Turns out they had already hooked up. So that one has really stuck around. Do you like Ryan's girlfriend? Yes. Okay, the answer is yes. I thought I didn't like her when I first met her, to no fault of her own. Ryan and I were just both the single men of that family. And Meghan and Daryl, and Meghan specifically, was always trying to get us both in relationships. And so when Ryan got into a relationship, she represented my own loneliness to me. So I didn't want to like her.
Initially.
But now I do. I do. I do, I really do. What's been your biggest struggle while being a content creator? Well, there are two different kinds of struggles. One of them would be consistently figuring out new content to post and somehow staying relevant and getting good viewership for over 4 years. And then the other one would be consistently seeing people call you ugly or annoying and having to be okay with it because you're living the dream. At the end of the day, I do feel like I'm living the dream. I do feel so grateful for what I have, but that does mean that some days when I do feel my ugliest, that is really hard to read. Craziest thing you've done to impress a guy? There are a lot. But just because it's top of mind, it's probably fly to London from LA, which is a 10.5-hour flight, and pretend that I was already gonna be there for the whole week. But really, the only reason I was going was to hopefully see him. And I only could go for 48 hours. So basically, I spent a full day on a plane in order to be there, because then the flight back. So if you add the math, it's almost a full day. I spent almost a full day on a plane to be there for 2 full days, but we did end up seeing each other, so it worked out. How do you feel about one-night stands?
Love them. wish I had more of them.
Don't have many of them because I'm very skeptical of them, which is maybe a good thing. And I say I wish I had more, but then I don't, because I probably would hate them if I had more. What's the cringiest thing you ever put up on social media? I think some people are gonna be sad about this answer, but I cringe a lot at those Disney filter videos that I used to do. Simply for the reason that I'm always yelling in them. And I think that gave me the reputation of being loud and annoying. What was the first thing you'd do if you woke up as the opposite gender? Have
Obviously.
Was there a time that you don't think you could succeed in life, and if you did, what can you say about it now? Yes, when I was in college, before I went to rehab, I was in school for musical theater, and I was positive that I was just gonna fall deeper into addiction once school ended, and I was never going to make it in theater. I actually didn't think much farther. I thought it was likely I wouldn't be alive after college, to be honest. Whoa. And what I can say about that now is that I'm so glad I am. Have you ever thrown up on someone's No. The reason I'm hesitating is because I'm sober now. I've had a lot of drunk nights. There are things I don't remember, but I think I would remember that. Someone would have told me. What can your confident and successful, I think, self say about your unmotivated, unconfident self? I am so mean to myself so often, but can't have one without the other, I believe. And I think sometimes I need to be in my unmotivated and unconfident being and body in order to really thrive in the confident side. Because I think when you're unmotivated, you're also recharging. Marry 3 US presidents. Barack Obama. Marry Barack Obama. So controversial. George Washington, because I would want to know what happens if our first one never was around. Who, in your opinion, is the best influencer / creator right now? I think Jake Shane does an incredible job at everything he does. Teffy, hello Teffy. Teffy is one of my favorites of all time. I love her. Drew Afualo, Brittany Broski, always, and Monet McMichael, because she has, ever since we became mutuals and I followed her, that girl grinds. She grinds it out, and I have never really seen her slow down. She's probably my biggest inspo always. What is your least favorite award show to attend and why? Only because of the traffic to get there. It was the VMAs, not last year, but the year before that. It took me 2 hours to get there. I almost peed myself in the car, but in order to not pee myself, we had to pull over to a gas station, but they didn't have a bathroom available, so I just peed on the side of the gas station in a corner. But because I ended up going so late, I ended up going on the carpet like right before Nicki Minaj and Taylor Swift. It was crazy. Have you ever dated a girl? Yes, in 7th grade I dated a girl named Lizzie. We had our first kiss together, but I asked her to tell everyone that we had our first kiss together a few months before we actually did, because I was too scared to actually kiss her. What's the most shocking piece of information you've learned about a celebrity? There are a few celebrities I've now heard about who are known for being really lovely people who a lot of people say are actually evil behind the scenes. What influencers do you have blocked? I don't actually think I have anyone blocked, but I do know there are some influencers who have me blocked. There's one guy who I think thought I was copying all of his filter content, so he blocked me and then made a video saying how much he hated me. But then I DM'd him and we sorted it out, but I know he's blocked me. I don't really know who else has blocked me. It's probably some people I don't even know about. A lot of the time, friends will send me videos and I'll click on them and it'll say this video is not available, and to my dismay, it's because that person has blocked me. So I think a lot of people have me blocked. Yay! Worst death threats you've ever gotten? There are 2 guys who are consistently in my DMs responding to almost every story I post telling me to die. And at this point, it's kind of giving biggest fan. They really have never given up, and it's been about like 3 years of this from these 2 guys. They also get creative with it. They don't always just say die. Sometimes they just tell me to disappear. Sometimes they tell me I'm gonna be alone forever. Sometimes they just send something very hateful, but they're around. The most expensive thing you've ever given someone that you've dated? After Ian and I broke up, we broke up right before Christmas, so I still bought him a Christmas present, and it was like a $5,000 Fendi coat that he had tried on when we were in Italy together, and he said he loved it, but he hated spending money on himself, so I bought that for him after we broke up to have one final Christmas together. Craziest thing you experienced while pursuing musical theater? One day at school, my friend told me she was taking the train to New York that night to audition for the Hairspray Hairspray national tour in the morning. Hairspray was my favorite show, so I decided to take a megabus at 12 a.m. from Boston to New York, get into New York at 4 a.m., get in line outside of Pearl Studios where the auditions were being held at 4:30 a.m., and I waited in line there from 4:30 till 3:30 p.m., and I had to be back in Boston by 8 p.m. for rehearsal that night. I walked into the audition room about 11 hours later at 3:30 p.m., sang my song, and then they asked me to sing a second song, which was very rare for that day because they were seeing so many people, and then ended up getting callbacks all the way to the end, and then they got shut down until COVID. I did make it back to school that day for rehearsal. They got shut down for COVID, and then once COVID, the restrictions started lifting, they reached back out and asked if I would be available, but I was doing TikTok at that point. But essentially, I almost booked a national tour of Hairspray based on impulsively getting on a megabus at 12 a.m. So I've always been an impulsive traveler. Have you ever joined the Mile High Club? No, but I have in an airplane bathroom to a photo of a celebrity that I now know and have hung out with multiple times. But he doesn't know that story. Worst date experience? I've had a lot of bad dates, but I think consistently worse ones are the ones where I am doing all the work asking questions, and then we walk away from the date and the guy says that was amazing and tries to make out with me. That has happened more than once. And I'm like, why do you think that was amazing? Then I realize it's because someone made them feel important in their life for the first time. A lot of the time I love asking questions. I don't like talking about me at the start of a date because I like to get to know the other person. But once we're 2 hours in and you haven't asked a single question about me, it gets a little, when we walk away from that date and you say that was amazing, I could ask you what my last name was and you might not know. Have you ever had a creepy or weird encounter with a fan or just a stranger? One time I was chased down Santa Monica Boulevard in LA by a few drunk girls who probably don't even remember this, but they were very, very drunk and they just wanted to tell me how much they loved me, but they were screaming that I almost got a little scared and I started running a little bit, but they would not stop until they caught me. Oh, and then sometimes when I order food at this specific place in New York, there's always new people working the counter, and sometimes they won't let me have my food until I take a photo with all of them. That's not creepy or weird, and I'm happy to take the photos, but both of those encounters have occasionally left me a little unsettled. How much have you spent on Harry Styles? I have never actually spent money to go to a Harry Styles concert, and I'm very grateful to be able to say that. Have you and Ryan kissed before? See this photo?
Can I have a birthday kiss? Ryan and I kissed.
And for the last question, saving the best one for last, and I'm only answering this because he has answered this before on a live stream. Do you ever miss Ian? No. Though I miss that era of my life occasionally because things were simpler, and I miss some of our moments together, but I think as with any long-ish term relationship, you know, we dated for 2 years, you kind of see it for what it is by the end. You see it through in all of its different iterations, and I know that it would never have worked out, and it probably still wouldn't work out. I have grown so much from who I was. You know, when we met, I was 21 and he was 32. It just wouldn't work for 27-year-old me now. It wouldn't work, period. I think there's a world in which we maybe could have been more friends, but I think I was in a lot of pain after the breakup and continue to be in a lot of pain for some other reasons. And I definitely don't miss how I felt a lot of the time in that relationship, but I do miss some of the good moments, as I miss some of the good moments even when, like, in a lot of the bad parts of my life. I was so long-winded with a lot of these. Let me know if you liked this one. And also know that while Christmas is over, the Christmas giveaway, that does not mean giveaways are over completely. I will continue doing giveaways as long as I possibly can, till my bank account is drained. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should at least keep a few dollars in there for food. Anyway, I love you. See you smash that subscribe button, hit that like button. I don't know. Good night. I love you.